And welcome to Blackfeather Guild. Before we go in and say hi to the cast and get started with the show, I wanted to talk very briefly about viewer actions and a little bit about sponsors. So first off, there's a number of ways that you can actually actively participate in the show through viewer actions. One of the easiest ways to do so is through retweeting the game tweet. You should see that somewhere in chat if it's not in there already. But you just click on that link and hit retweet, and for every 5 retweets that we get on that, it will add a bonus to the cast pool and the game master pool. Now, in most cases, that's going to be an extra d6 that they can add on to any roll. Basically, a great way to use that is if a player is almost meeting a DC, but they're just not quite there, they can grab one of those d6s from the cast pool, roll that, and then add that to their roll. Basically, is how that works. Same with the GM. So that's one of the easiest ways that you can participate that way. Another way is through guild coins. That's our Twitch channel points. If you look at the rainbow colored icon, it should have the Blackfeather Guild crest on it. It should be right below your Twitch chat box. If you click on that, it'll show you all the different things that you can get with those. The biggest one being plot points. Now, plot points, you can see an example right over here. They all work pretty much the same way. It's just a matter of how big of an impact they have. So for the example, when we've got 2 plot points, the player of your choice gets something moderately helpful or unhelpful. Enter any suggestions for the GM into chat, or you can have the GM come up with something entirely on their own. So just choose if you want it to be helpful or unhelpful to the party, and that's kind of how you can use them. You can throw in your own suggestions as well. How those work: 1 plot point is something trivially helpful or unhelpful. 2 is moderately, 3 is very, and 4 is very to the entire party. So if you want to do something to help the entire party or really throw a monkey wrench in their plans, 4 plot points will do that. So that's guild coins. And then finally, we've got donations. So if you want to help out with keeping the lights on in the place, so to speak, there's a number of ways that you can financially contribute. One of those being coffee.com/Raven or Raven.rocks. You can see both of those examples down there at the bottom. Those are the addresses to do direct donations. You can also do Twitch subscriptions or bits. Those work the same way. And then finally, Patreon. We've got a Patreon, which you should see in chat here any second if it's not there already. And our Bard tier patrons and higher get credits towards viewer actions every month that they can use on any show that they would like. You just have to let us know in chat how you want to spend those, and then we'll hand those out. So, some very cool stuff. Before we hop over to see the cast, one last thing to mention is a couple things on this chart here. We've already covered the D6 and the plot points, but the triple crits, what that means is you can gift auto critical successes. And you can, it's triple because you get 3. You can divvy those out however you'd like. You can do 2 to the cast, 1 to the game master, all of them to the game master, however you want to do it. So they work much like the D6s. The cast members just grab that when they're available and they really need them and use them. So it's pretty cool. And then finally, the last one, introduce an ally or enemy NPC. Just give us a brief description of what you want this character to look like, kind of their character concept and a name, and let us know if you want it to be an enemy or an ally to the party, and the GM will basically take that and run with it. So really cool ways that you can participate. Lastly, I just want to take a quick moment to mention our sponsors. If you look at the logos down below, that's who's sponsoring this episode, and we'll talk a little bit about that before we introduce everybody as well on the next scene. So yeah, check all this stuff out and thank them for supporting us, and thank you for being here and watching. Let's go say hi to the cast. Hello, welcome back, everybody. We're gonna hop into another episode of Exodus. I'm really excited for it. And before we pass everything off to Vanessa, let's do some introductions. So we usually stop in usually start at the top left, which is me right now. So I'm Raven. I'm the creative director for the Raven Evermore, which involves a lot of streaming, obviously, tabletop design, game mastering, voice acting, and art. A bunch of other stuff too. You can find out all about that at my Twitter, which is below my face. And I play Niklas Sebastian Adama, who is a wealthy scientist who, unbeknownst to anybody else, has already experimented with some of the cane, the substance that's mutating and driving people crazy in the city. So there's Niklaus, and then there's Klaus, which is sort of a Mr. Hyde to his Dr. Jekyll that comes out every so often too. And Klaus is also pretty good at acting like Niklaus, so it's really hard to tell which one is out at any given time. So yeah, that's me and my character. It's going to be a lot of fun. Pass it on down to Yasmin. Tell us a little bit about you and Bambi.
Okay,
Just saw why you're laughing.
Hi, I'm Yasmin. I'm a hot mess, but I'm also a graphic illustrator and artist. I do tabletop game art and stuff. Um, Sorry, I was reading IC Historian. And I play Bambi, the dumb heartthrob sweetheart of Exodus, that probably is a little too crazy and a little too screw loose to actually be a sweetheart of Exodus, but she's good. And Bambi loves the cane because she uses it as her lifeblood. And the episode before last episode, what was it? We got to see a little bit of that, where she can sing weak-minded people into her control like a siren, and that's Bambi.
Awesome. Next, we've got Rowan. Tell us a little bit about Pepper Ann and yourself.
Hello, I'm Rowan North. I'm a freelance illustrator and art educator. You can find my stuff at rowannorthillustrations.org. And I guess I should announce that at the end of the week, I'm doing pre-orders on my handmade watercolors for a Halloween set. So look forward to that. I play Pepper Ann McGillicuddy. It comes from like basically high class Exodus. Has her grandfather's 2 hunting dogs, and people just learned that she can maybe manipulate animals. I guess they haven't really put it together, but there's been weird stuff going on with her being able to see behind corners that she wouldn't be able to, and things like that. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, Klaus has been a little distracted and hasn't noticed Pepper Ann yet in that sense. It's gonna be really interesting when he does, though.
Notice me, senpai.
You don't want Klaus to notice you.
Don't notice me, senpai.
We'll pass that on up to Riley. Tell us a little bit about Sydney or Sid and yourself.
Hi, I'm Riley. I'm a knit and crochet designer and content creator for Arieli Knits. I play Sid. Sid is kind of like a street urchin character that Niklaus has taken under his wing and allowed to kind of do odd jobs and watch him do things and learn like an apprentice. So yeah, Sid is an interesting character, and I'm excited for everybody to get to know her more.
Perfectly normal child things like stealing cadavers for Niklaus, and you know, not anything nefarious. Oh, and then next we've got Vanessa. Tell us a little bit about you and this wonderful game that we're playing, and then take it away.
Perfect. So hi, I am Vanessa. I am a traditional artist. I deal mainly in pencil sketch and watercolor, and recently a little bit more digital as well. But yeah, this is Exodus, the Sunken City. I play everybody else that isn't one of these lovely characters that I've grown way too attached to already. Most notably, Anastasia, who is a former nurse. She worked with one of the top doctors in Exodus before the fall of the city. And she was the first one to greet Niklaus and Sid when they came down from the top side. So she's been kind of guiding the party along so far. And it is her hope that eventually, somehow, this group that has turned out to be much more of a clown parade than she had anticipated, somehow they will eventually get out of the city and leave everything behind. So she's hoping that this will be her last adventure in Exodus before we leave and never return. But last week, we ended off with our party stocking up on some weapons, some medical supplies, things like that. We met Belikov, who was a character that Rowan threw into the mix, threw a whole wrench in the monkey plan there.
Threw a wrench in the monkey plan?
A monkey plan. It's a monkey plan because all y'all are clowns and monkeys. So Yes, a wrench in the monkey plan.
Clowns? I don't know what you mean.
Don't ever do that again, please. It's completely unnecessary. Yes, but oh, are we gonna get through the recap? I wonder. Let's
No.
see. Let's find out.
Sorry,
yes,
Klaus
so
just
we're-
had to interject. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Klaus. Now enough of you. Shush. Let Niklaus be the front because at least he keeps quiet.
Very well.
There you go. But yes, we stocked up on everything we needed. There was no real plan in place the last we left off. The tentative plan was kind of to go see if we could rummage around through Pepper's apartment and see if we could grab any more of her grandfather's old supplies, any of his hunting supplies, to make this trip a little bit easier. And yes, like Rowan mentioned, we did see a little glimpse of what Pepper was able to do. And on the way out, we got to see that Anastasia's little cache of weapons is guarded by turrets. So those are around. So you guys should be careful and keep your peepers peopled in case you run across some stuff like that. But that's where we left off. That's where we're going to pick up.
Wait, did
Bambi,
you say peepers peepered?
peepers peopled.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's where we left off. So the crew was trying to quietly make their way back to Pepper's apartment. Now I'm going to where's my map? I'm gonna bring that up for you guys because that's always nice to have. Okay, can you guys see the map on Roll20?
Yes.
Sweet. Okay. So, Anastasia leads you in a direction that is not back towards the bathysphere station. And if you look at the map there is no bathysphere line that connects the Adonis Plaza to the luxury suites. Instead, she brings you in the direction signs are pointing. There are signs on the wall that kind of at different junctions show you what direction leads to what building, basically. It's almost like a street sign, just periodically. And as you are making your way, she is sticking to the signs that indicate that you are going towards the train station. This section of the city, all of the little areas in the back end are mostly connected by trains. So there are not as many like bathysphere lines, for example, in between the smaller areas. You will get them to the major city areas. So like Adonis Plaza, the luxury apartments, the entertainment district. There's one that goes straight to the medical pavilion and then to the gardens. They're called Eden. And all of those converge on the hub that we were first in the atrium. At the top of the atrium, that is the main transport hub of the city. So it's usually more convenient to get the bathysphere out to a major port, and then you would get, your tram wherever it is, or your train wherever it is that you're going to afterwards. So that is where she is bringing you. You guys are passing all these signs that say this is the direction of the tram station. This is the trains. The journey there is relatively quiet. You don't see very many people or creatures, anything like that. Every now and then, as you are going, you'll encounter just the eeriest of sounds. This is clearly something so other from what the top side is. This is not, it's something out of a book, out of a nightmare. There is just this absolute eerie quietness to things, aside from the occasional, bump of ambiance from the city itself. But on one occasion, you do, as you are passing through a hallway that connects two buildings. They're almost like skywalks, like that connect two buildings, and they're mostly made of glass. This is the kind of thing that connects the buildings here. And you would have seen something like this as Niklaus and Sid, as you were coming in on the bathysphere. All of these little walkways that connect the buildings. So, you wouldn't need to take these extreme modes of transportation to get between buildings. No, they're all connected. These are all places that are within walking distance of each other. So you pass through a tunnel, and the structure is largely made of metal, just like everything else. It's tarnished. Once beautiful, it's got these intricate designs all across the metal fixtures. Very like Art Deco kind of. Used to be gold gilded designs like swirls, and they're very reminiscent of like waves and ocean imagery. There are some like fish jumping out of the water and things like this. So you are making your way through this tunnel, and in the glass sections, while everything is very quiet, suddenly there's just this outstanding loud bang noise that resonates through the entire tunnel. And as you look to your right side, as you're passing by, there is a guardian outside, and it is handling tools. And it looks to be welding the outside of the structure. It's like, soldering pieces together. So you get the idea that this is how the city has been surviving all of this time, despite the fact that the people are no longer in charge here. All of these monsters are slaves to their own needs. They're constantly on the lookout for Cain. And their mental capacity is not what it used to be. So clearly these people are not taking care of the city itself. But now you have evidence that these hulking creatures, they're still taking care of the city despite the fact that it is in ruin. So they're still keeping up with things that they were taught to do. It's very much like an autopilot kind of, they keep things going as best they can, but it's just this sudden startling noise as you pass by, and the guardian doesn't give any indication that he sees you there. He just continues to do his work, and you pass through safely. The tunnel is a bit leaky. That's maybe why he was there in the first place. But other than that, everything else passes, and things are quiet. So eventually you do come up to this little hub, I suppose, much like the bathysphere hub, but for trains and trams and things like that. So you come into this open space. The little hallway leads out into the station, and you've got like a train set on some tracks there. More windows out into the city, so you can still see the buildings around you. You can still see the gleam of those neon signs coming in through the windows. Just very, very surreal. And clearly this place used to be so full of life. This was where the lower class and the upper class would occasionally bump elbows. The living class, poorer people as well would take these trams to work, for example. So this section of the city is largely connected by those lines. And then, so you guys come out into this section and there's nobody there. But you also notice that there aren't very many lights. It's significantly dimmer here. And And Anastasia doesn't say anything at first. She just stands there when you guys come into this section, and she crosses her arms across her chest, and she just stands there quietly. What are your reactions?
So we are in the richer quarters now, right? Or not quite?
Not quite. So this is the station that will bring you to the luxury apartments. So this, if you look at the map there, you're still in 3. So the luxury apartment is 9. Yeah. So you want to make it over to 9, which is where the luxury apartments is, and then 10 is like shopping and stuff like that, and all whatever accommodations the richer folk have for them specifically. So 3 is where you are now.
Okay. So we're still on the way, and Anastasia's just bothered by something, it looks like, right?
Yes. Yeah. So she's standing there and she's got her arms crossed across her chest.
Pepper actually, considering how peaceful the trip has been so far, like it's been fairly calm aside from, what Pepper said was, "Are sharks outside fixing things?" She's like, "Oh, don't worry, the sharks won't bother you unless you touch their kittens." And it's completely nonsensical, but
thank you, Pepper. That makes absolute sense.
oh, totally, to her. But she's like, "Did I do something wrong?" It looks worried.
Anastasia takes a moment before she realizes that Pepper is asking a question. But she looks at her and her eyebrows go up like she's surprised. And she looks at Pepper and she says, "Why would you have done anything wrong? Of course not."
Well, I mean, it's just when I'm used to when people are upset, they're usually upset at me. So I just wanted to make sure.
No, darling, I am not mad at you.
Well, then what's wrong?
There is no light here.
Oh.
Everything is dark.
It is a little not light. I guess I didn't notice.
Well, I can tell you that is not a good thing. It means that the trains will not run and they will not bring us to the apartments.
Well, can we walk? I'm so used to walking places.
In this instance, yes, we could walk to the apartments, but in the long run, this could be a big problem for us. If we have to go to different areas, we'll have to largely rely on the bathyspheres to take us back and forth. And I don't think it's very safe for us to be constantly revisiting places that we've been, especially because all of these bathysphere routes converge at the atrium. And I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable that we have to keep going back. I don't want to draw more attention than we need to.
And the bathyspheres are being policed too, right? I seem to remember that.
To my knowledge, the bathyspheres are fine if we stick to the common areas. We do need access cards if we're going to anything that has higher security. So just as long as we use them sparingly, there shouldn't be any problem. But the tram system was what I was counting on the most for us to get around, especially this area of the city. I know that a train is not exactly silent, but like I said, I don't want to be going back and forth. We could get back to the atrium and have a whole horde of splicers waiting for us.
Seems to me that the most
practical, prudent course of action would be to discover why there's no power and fix it.
Well, you and your kit, both of you seem very, very handy and smart with things like this, right? I mean, you have bags full of just the strangest things. So if we figure out why there's no power, could you fix it?
Well, while the flattery is appreciated, I don't believe it'll get you anywhere any faster. But to answer your question, it's possible. Depends on what is used to power this and what's wrong with it.
Electricity and there's no power.
I have a question.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Does Bambi know where power could be sourced to the trains?
Yes. So both Pepper and Bambi would know that going back to the map there at the very bottom, number 11, down in the left-hand corner, that is Hephaestus Forge. And the bottom of that...
Clever.
Yeah, the bottom of that ridge, the bottom of the map, is filled with vents, thermal vents, and that's largely where the entire city gets most of its power. So Hephaestus Forge uses those thermal vents to produce the energy for the city itself. So you do know that is where your energy comes from, and if anywhere, that's where electricity would be turned on and off from.
Eh.
And which number are where are we right now?
We're
Right.
at
So we
three.
are at the top. We're at 3.
So it's quite a trip. And so actually Pepper will point this out. It's like, well, it is a good idea to go and fix things, but it's really, 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 really far away. You have to cross like miles and miles of jungle to get there.
Well, are we certain that the problem is at the power plant and not merely a fuse box or transformer station or something of that sort?
Nope,
I
our
mean-
best bet is to go all the way down to the bottom.
Anastasia like shakes her head and mutters something in Russian under her breath. And she's like, well, as much as as weird as it is to agree with Bambi, I do have the feeling that your arrival here was not unnoticed. And so my instinct tells me that this is a train-wide problem. Yes. And I think perhaps our best bet is to go check out the source. At least then, if we go back to the atrium from here, we can go downward, take the bathyspheres down through the fisheries, and then down to Hephaestus Forge. And then we don't have to go back on ourselves again and again. So once we make that trip, that's it. There's no other reason for us to come back after that. We can go through Eden and go up through the gardens to get to the other side, and then we can use the trams again.
I guess the question is, do we go now or go later? I kind of want to get more supplies and things before we go down there, because if it's a sabotage, then that means there's probably a lot of wild animals waiting for us there, and it's going to be super dangerous because, I mean, if it is a sabotage, so
My only other worry is that the electricity is not only cut to the train systems, but perhaps the other areas of this side of the city as well.
Bambi, who has been fairly withdrawn and almost normal to this point. Um, kind of like darts a glance into the darkness that would be the high-rise apartments, and then back at Pepper and the others. And she says, well, if your animals are so smart, don't you think they'll be lying in wait in the darkness? And
They always are.
but the light does help us. And I mean,
I have a torch.
who couldn't spotlight a face like mine? Except for Exodus itself in Hephaestus. But
What?
I did raise the question. And like she like hard 90-degree 180 degree back to what she was talking about when she first started talking. Points at Pepper and she says, Pepper, are there elevators to get to your grandfather's apartment?
Well, I often take the stairs.
But who's to say that the stairs aren't ambushed? Stairs are a terrible place to be attacked, and I would know.
Well, were you pushed down a flight of stairs? Is that why you're not okay?
Oh my god.
No! I mean, yes, but that is not the point.
You know, I've set up traps, so there
But
isn't
we're in
gonna be
the
anybody.
dark. What if we run into one of your traps?
You don't think I know where my traps are?
I
No,
don't
I
know
don't.
if you know where your traps are.
I am there because I go there all the time. I actually booby trapped the elevator anyways. So
So Bambi pokes Pepper in the chest, right above her, like
Sternum?
right here. Yeah, that's a good way to
can
put
I roll to catch her hand?
Just above the boob area? Is that what you're
Yes.
talking about?
The
Just
boobies.
above.
No, can I roll to catch her hand?
Yes. So yes, the sternum. Rowan, I will get you to roll.
Are you about to make a booby trap pun?
Yes.
Oh
Oh
boy.
no!
Skillfulness. Just roll skillfulness for me, please.
Skillfulness. Okay. I was looking for a character sheet on roll 20, and I'm like, oh wait, that's not there.
Did you
Wow.
Give me
forget
one
to bring it up?
Yeah.
While that's
There we go.
happening, Niklaus is going to look at Bambi and say a few words of, yes, certainly, I can't see why anyone would not want to spotlight your beauty. But I am rather concerned that apparently the elevators are booby-trapped, as are the stairs, by our companion here.
14.
And
Yeah, you managed to catch her hand.
who now has your hand?
She actually gets a really serious look, and she's like, don't touch me. That's off limits. Don't.
Bambi makes
Touch
a
me.
small whimpering noise.
And then she lets go of her hand.
She's like, but, and just like looks her up and down. And is like, well, fine. But my point is what I assume Niklaus was trying to say. We should turn the lights back on.
Indeed, lights would be beneficial. If we are to go down the stairs or down the elevator without the lights, or for that matter, with the lights, I propose a motion that our peppery friend here
Leads
Be
the
the
way.
first one to
That's
go
what I
down.
want. That's my plan.
And if anyone tries to push you down the stairs again, my dear, well,
I
then
admitted to nothing, and she just storms off into the dark.
We were.
Um,
You were the one who was pushed down the stairs. We were talking about you.
okay, so Bambi takes off into the dark because why wouldn't she?
of
Um,
course.
But before we deal with that, y'all just bickering about an elevator just gives me just Star Wars flashbacks to Anakin and Obi-Wan arguing while poor R2 is trying to fix the goddamn elevator. Oh, you guys cracked me up.
I feel like in this situation, it could be Sid. Sid could be R2D2.
Absolutely. Okay, quick, before we move on, what characters are you in Star Wars? No, I'm kidding. So Bambi, while
Palpatine,
you
clearly.
Okay,
Yeah.
I could give Bambi a really cool Star Wars character, but we all know that she is the movie Jar Jar Binks.
Oh my god.
Could be worse. You could be the Christmas special.
What?
Oh no. Have you
Star
not seen
Wars
the Christmas special?
Apparently not. I didn't know Christmas was a thing in Star Wars.
It's not.
It's
Anyways.
bad.
So, did I figure out what we're gonna do tomorrow?
So you guys, you want to hear about the pork chops I made last month?
What?
Yeah.
No, it's a little joke that we use in Animus when everybody gets off track. I usually say, "Hey, you guys want to hear about my pork chops?" And then we get back on track.
Usually we're talking about something very inappropriate.
But for you guys, I'll just use it because we can't literally do a single thing. Bambi, can you roll awareness for me, please?
Sure, I'd love to. My awareness is nothing. We're on D20s, right?
Yeah.
Sid would have also like headed towards the entrance.
Woo!
Just because of yeah.
The equivalent of a cool roll for this was resistance, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, even before modifiers, I rolled a 19. Yes. So
Yeah.
Bambi
Oh, boy.
notices literally jack shit when suddenly
Would
there
my dogs smell something?
you can roll for awareness.
I would very much like to, because I mean they're
Sid, what were
hunting
you
dogs.
saying?
Oh, I was just saying Sid would like have gone away from the group a little bit and headed back towards the direction they came. Understanding like we have to go
So 13
fix this.
Gotcha.
for awareness.
So would Sid see anything or be aware of anything since she's not, you know,
In her right mind.
participating in social banter.
So just so I have it clear, Bambi takes off into the darkness of the tram tunnels, right?
Yeah.
And Sid is going
wherever
back-
ahead.
Okay, and Sid is going back towards where the bathyspheres would have been, where they came from, to go to Hephaestus Forge, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Sid doesn't notice anything. And Rowan, what did you say you rolled for your
Pups
dogs?
got 13.
All right, so Bambi disappears into the dark tunnel, and hears absolutely nothing as two large hands come down on either side of her arms and snatch her up. And then there is a second voice from further down the tunnel that just like starts cackling. So Pepper, your dogs notice just a little too late, like Bambi is already caught up before they notice any movement. But then once that movement is there, they kind of perk up and lock onto it. And Sid is retreating, so she doesn't hear anything at all.
Um, I think there's been a kidnapping.
Bambi shrieks like silent siren screaming wail.
So Bambi starts screaming, and whoever has a hold of her just goes, "Would you shut the fuck up, you loud bitch?" And just like, so a hand like comes off of her arm. And would you roll, I'm gonna get
I just
what?
rolled something.
Okay.
I just rolled to see how Niklaus reacts to it. If it's Niklaus or Klaus. I rolled a nat 1.
Oh, great. Yeah, this is all you, buddy, Klaus. Yes, I'll get you to roll dodge for me with disadvantage. So roll twice,
Okay.
take the lower number.
All right. If I can spell roll correctly. Wow. Wow, I know what's gonna win this one.
Oh boy, yeah, no, this hand disappears from off the side of your arm, and you are completely under the impression that they're just gonna leave you alone. Like, whoever has a hold of you, your scream has just frightened them off. You are none the wiser. Look at you, you screamed and they ran. Absolutely not. You get socked right in the side of the head with just a closed fist, boom, right in the side of the head. Would you like to roll a D4 for damage, please?
Yes. Poor Bambi. That's a 1.
Oh, okay. So
Not too
it wasn't
terribly
as
bad.
yeah, it wasn't as clean as this person had hoped for. Perhaps they cannot fully see you in the dark as well, and while they do hit, it's more of a gleam than anything else. So you do get hit, and they have a hold of one of your arms. So even if you you kind of sprawl a little bit away from them, but they're still grasping onto your arm. So you don't quite get away. And then down the dark tunnel, you just hear more laughing, and then it's a female voice, and she goes, "What do you have for us? Do you have somebody to play with? I can't wait to see what you have. It's gonna be so much fun. Who is it? Who's there?" And then the arm that's closed around your the hand that's closed around your arm starts dragging you farther into the dark tunnel.
Okay.
Can
I-
Niklaus do something during this?
Yes.
So
this is happening all at the kind of the same time. Like, it's just very quick. Leans off and smacks her, and then starts to drag her. So you can react in that moment.
Yeah, as soon as he hears the scream, there'll be a 1-second pause before something clicks in his brain, and he starts running after towards the scream in the dark. And then just as soon as he can get to the situation, I will want to do another thing.
All right, quickly roll awareness for me.
Okay.
Sid, what are you doing? You've heard Bambi scream.
Nat 20.
Dang.
Okay, then.
For a total of 22.
Sorry, Sid, what are you doing?
So Sid would have heard and turned back in that direction, and then would have slowly started heading back towards the group. But then, like, when she sees Niklaus's, like, reaction, to what's going on. She is no longer sauntering, but she's now kind of briskly walking slash like hurriedly, like, you know, the run where you're like, oh, what's going on? But you're not like running, but you're like,
Yes.
she starts kind of doing that because she's really just interested to see what's going to happen.
So
That's the only reason.
basically, Sydney is a nosy coworker. Is what you're telling me.
Oh, it's probably worth noting too that this is definitely not typical behavior from Niklaus to run towards a fight.
Yes. And I think Sid would have picked up on that in their time together, which is why she's like, what's going on here?
Yes. And then what about you, Pepper?
I mean, Pepper, you know, calls it out just as, I guess, right before Bambi screams. It's like, oh, there's been a kidnapping. Then Bambi screams. So she figured out like a split second before the scream, and now everyone's rushing that way, and Pepper reaches into her bag and pulls out a flashlight and looks at Anastasia like,
yes. So as soon as Bambi screams, Anastasia like whips up her shotgun, and obviously does not fire because it's dark and she can't see anything, but just as a precaution. And now obviously Niklaus is running into the fray. So while it is maybe a little bit tempting to just shoot them all and get it over with, she decides that perhaps that is not the best course of action. So she does have her shotgun up and ready.
and so yeah, I think Pepper's just gonna take the time to pull out the flashlight, turn it on, shine it down the hall. It's like, I imagine like one of those hefty torches.
Yeah. So as she's doing that, Niklaus didn't even have to think about it. Just barrels right into the fray. It's like almost like you have some sort of extra sense that allows you to hone in exactly where these bodies are, and you get to Bambi very quickly. So she's being dragged away, and then up comes this flashlight. So now you have a visual. There is a gentleman who is hanging on to her arm. He's got his fingers digging into the side of the skin of Bambi's arm. And you can see that they're starting to draw blood. And half of his face is just absolutely decimated. It looks like he's been through an absolute meat grinder. Not only that, but he has these big sores all over his forearms that are weeping. And it's to the point where like the sores and the weeping, it's very, very wet. He is just disgusting. Clothes are completely torn. He's missing a pant leg up to one of his knees, also missing the shoe on that same foot. And like his toes have kind of melted together almost. Like you can't see any distinction in the different toes of his feet. But yeah, so the light swings up and you see him and you see Bambi in his clutches.
So Klaus is going to stick to the shadows running over, so as far away from the light as possible, but still close enough to attack people. And throw his voice a little bit so it doesn't sound like it's coming from necessarily his location. But everybody would be able to hear just this, it's not nice to take what isn't yours. And he's pulled the scalpel out of his medkit and is going to attack whoever he can get to from the shadows.
And Bambi would also like to do something when given
Yep.
the opportunity. She would like to remove her heel and use it as a weapon.
All right. So we'll go Bambi first, just because you guys are pretty close together. So I will get you to roll for strength for me, just because he still has a really, really good grip on your arm. So I want to see if you can kind of bend down enough to be able to hook a heel off, while still grabbed.
Could I argue that it would be skillfulness?
Yes,
Okay.
I will give you that one.
Hey,
Because
thanks.
instead of trying to pull away enough to be able to hook a heel off of your foot, you're trying to kind of more twist within his grasp. So instead of pulling against, you're using that grasp to kind of like
Rolled a
move in. And
17.
it's slow going. You don't get it right away. You try once and he kind of jerks on your arm really hard, and it feels like any harder, and perhaps your shoulder might come out of its socket, but then kind of twisting again, and using that momentum that he's using to pull you closer, you're able to reach down and haul off a heel. So you
Cool.
do successfully get it. So Niklaus, or Klaus, whoever you are.
Right now, it's all Klaus.
Yep. So you have your scalpel. I would say you are probably closest to the splicer that is holding Bambi. The woman's voice came from further down the hall. And if you kind of squint and stare into the hallway, you could probably pick her out from the residual light that's not hitting Bambi and this male splicer. But it's too far to be of concern for your stabby slashy, let's get the scalpel into somebody. So you are closer to the male splicer.
Okay.
Yeah, so do you want to just like go right in and try to stab this guy?
Oh, what I'd like to do is using his medical knowledge.
Yeah.
Go for some creative surgery on
Okay.
Important arteries.
Okay.
Probably the one that's in the neck.
Right. So I'm gonna get you to roll.
Medicine?
I don't think so, because this is more of a melee attack than it is. You're using your knowledge of medicine. What's your modifier for your medicine?
5.
And oh goodness, what is melee attacks is strength. Do you have any modifier on your strength?
No, it's at a 0.
No? Okay, so what I will do is I will get you to roll strength with your medicine modifier, just because you have medical knowledge of where best to hit. So you are going for a very specific location.
Okay.
Yeah.
That works. Let's see what I get. An 11.
With an 11. Let me roll and see what this guy does, because there's still a chance that he does not see you coming whatsoever. Let's see.
If not, or like if that doesn't hit, then I will add a d6 to it as well.
Dodge 3. Yeah, so he you almost had him with an 11. He has a 13.
Okay, I'm gonna add a d6.
Okay.
Which is 6.
Excellent. So yes, he sees you coming just a tad too late, and you are able to connect with the artery exactly where you intended it to be.
So
A little bit messy, but you get the job done.
Klaus is going for messy. And so there's the slice, and then Klaus just goes, "You've got red on you," and then steps back into the shadows.
So, Pepper, I guess, has the flashlight out now and on like this scene.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually looks. She looks at Anastasia and says, "We need to shoot the lion."
Which one's the lion?
Keeping
It's
in mind
Klaus.
that Klaus is staying in the shadows and has a very different sounding voice.
Yes, but remember, she's not seeing him as a person right now.
Right. So
He
the
is
body was
legitimate.
the lion. It would still be the lion, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
So she sees you like literally stab this guy. It's super messy and everything. Although he probably sees that person as an animal right now too. And she has deemed that the lion is the bigger threat.
Okay. So Klaus, do you stab or do you slash is the question.
Slashing. It's
Slashing.
like a flick, because it's a scalpel.
Okay.
Like it doesn't take much pressure, so he's just flicking it across the right spot to sever the artery.
Right. Okay. So with that, you've hit your mark. With your slicing motion, you get that perfect little horizontal cut right where you need it to be. And you sever that artery, and Bambi, you get a face full of this guy's blood.
Whee!
This stuff sprays out at you so hot and heavy that like it stuns you for a second. There's no way that this could be coming from a human body or a body that was once human. It's just a very aggressive hit to the face. And this guy lets you go and starts laughing. Like he gargles as he puts a hand to his throat. And you can see that the skin on his fingers is likewise bubbled the way his forearms are. And he grabs onto his throat and just starts laughing. And the blood is pooling through his fingers and running down his arms and mixing with the weeping of his sores. And he gargles, and you can tell that he's starting to lose consciousness, but he does not stop laughing as he goes to the floor. He's unconscious, and he doesn't get back up. And you can assume that he will be dead very shortly. But you do still hear footsteps behind you. There's still a second person. And she has moved off the main trail, the tracks that you were following. So she's not in your direct line of sight anymore. She used this opportunity to kind of scatter into the darkness around.
Okay. Did Sid get a chance to catch up with everybody?
How close are you coming, Sid? Because I would say you would have enough time to come up to the group, but how far are you going to venture up?
Sid, okay. Can I argue that Sid has testing vials and syringes on her person?
Is that something that would be an everyday item for Sid and Niklaus up on top side?
Yeah.
Probably.
Okay. I would say that you could bring those with you then.
Okay, so Sid kind of all of a sudden is like right next to Anastasia and Pepper, and just like, I don't know if I need to roll for this to see how sneakily it happens. She would probably wait until like, Pepper was occupied and wouldn't have as much of a chance to notice her. And she'll just like quickly just like take a blood sample, just like poke her with a syringe, take a blood sample, and just like stash it in her pocket.
Pepper.
Pepper's blood?
Yes.
So I'm assuming you're trying to be very stealthy, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna get you to roll for stealth. Pepper, I'm gonna get you to roll for awareness.
Oh boy.
Can I get an advantage since
Yeah, I'm not
doing
paying
this?
attention. That is fair.
Yeah.
5. I
Sure.
think you're gonna succeed on this.
Actually, I also got a 5. So
What?
I
Roll
get the
again?
advantage.
Roll
Yeah.
again.
So Pepper, you're occupied, right?
Yeah, I'm occupado. I'm focusing on where Klaus went because that's the big threat, right?
Right. Okay. Then if you are otherwise occupied, then Sid, yes. Go ahead, roll with advantage.
Okay, so that's 8.
Yeah, so you're not quite sure how Pepper didn't notice you approach because boy, that's rough. But
Right, like as close to "Hey, what's up?" stab as you can
yeah.
get.
Pretty much. So you come up on Pepper and boom, you've got a quick blood sample. I would probably assume that a needle Pepper would notice.
Oh yeah, being stabbed. Yes.
Yeah. So do you have anything to say to that, Pepper? So the sample has already been taken.
I imagine I would reflexively elbow Sid in the face.
Sid
Just like boom.
Sid would like hold their nose and kind of like wipe it and just
So you're not even trying to dodge? I don't have to roll anything.
nope, I'm just gonna take it and just like Sid just like looks up at you and I was like, I'm a mosquito.
So during this time, Bambi has already taken off into the dark, and she would like to use Siren Song.
All right.
I
So
also
yep.
another thing that Niklas will do when there's time, just as a heads up.
Okay, we'll get to you in a second. So Bambi, you want to try and use your siren song on the remaining splicer?
Yes.
We did not specify, did we, whether you have to have like line of sight? It's just within hearing distance?
Correct.
Okay.
At least what I assumed it was. We did
Yeah.
not specify that. So Bambi's going to sing Dream a Little Dream of Me by Ella Fitzgerald
Okay.
in the attempt to put her to sleep with the chorus.
Okay. Let me see now. Ooh, my dice, she went flying. Yeah, so you are able to pull the splicer into your song, no problem. She stops where she was at the moment that you started singing, which is close to the side of the tram tunnel. So you're able to hear like the footsteps come to a halt as she was slowly retreating. So then she's very, very still, and she is caught in your thrall.
So the lyrics go is say, I'm not even going to try and sing it. Sorry, guys. Say nighty night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you'll miss me while I'm alone and blue as can be. Dream a little dream of me.
I'm just laughing because I realized that Bambi just pulled a Jigglypuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that is Bambi's siren song. She is Jigglypuff, I guess.
Jigglypuff.
There you go.
How awful I am at singing, guys.
So, yes, this Splicer is completely lulled into a stillness, a calmness.
Is
She's
she...
still. What?
Sorry, go on.
No, what was your question?
I was gonna say, does she say nighty night so that Bambi can find her?
It's a good question.
As she has called the Splicer to do to her? Say nighty night.
I would say that considering she is under the thrall of your siren song, and I'm thinking of the applications of the siren song in Bambi's line of work when when things weren't so splicery. Yes, she responds to you. It's a call and response, and she does respond.
So
Welcome,
is
Raiders.
it Yay, Raiders!
Hi.
Is it
Hello.
enough that Bambi can pinpoint exactly where she is?
Yes.
Bambi would like to beat the ever-living shit out of her with her heel.
All right. So
Like, heel to the face.
so for
Oh,
this
boy.
particular, we're gonna go back and forth because I'm gonna, I have to see
That's
if she
fine.
wakes up. But I have a feeling that perhaps getting a shoe to the face is brutal enough to wake you out of your stasis.
That's fine.
So this initial roll I have failed. So you can go ahead. This woman is not moving. She's not putting up a fight. Nothing. So I'm gonna get you to roll a d4 for damage.
Yeah, four.
All right. Let me see.
Blood trauma to the face.
So she.
Thanks so much, Michael, for gifting that sub to Joshua. Joshua, let me know what you'd like to do with the $5 on the chart, whichever direction it is next to me. Let me know in chat what you'd like to use that on.
Yay. Yeah. So she still doesn't wake up. You can go ahead and roll another d4 for damage. Because I assume
Yes.
Bambi's just beating
Just
the
going
ever-living-
to town, maybe losing her shit a little bit while she's doing it, screaming something about Vixen. 3.
3? Okay. No, this poor sad bitch is still under your spell. Go ahead and
dear.
roll again.
So can Pepper, while this is happening, I guess Sid did distract Pepper, but Pepper is still concerned about, this predator that's out there.
Yes. Does Pepper still have the flashlight up?
Yes.
Okay, so
Before
she's
do
still
anything-
pointing it down. Go ahead,
Did you
Riley.
roll for damage when you elbowed me?
I mean,
That's up to yourselves. If you think Pepper hauled back enough to actually do like
I imagine she would do maybe 1 or 2.
Okay.
Just
okay.
because she's got the instinct of a survivor here. Any
Right.
surprise pain, she's gonna punch back with intent, but
Yeah, so Sid, you take 2 points of damage and you hear a delicious crunch when just the boniest part of Pepper's elbow comes straight in on that cartilage and it boom crunch. And you have a nice little nosebleed on your hands. Okay, so Bambi, what was your third roll?
I got a 4 again.
My goodness, Bambi is really in a mood.
Beating the
Y'all
shit
have
out of this person.
no idea.
I dropped my dice. Where'd it go? Ugh. Oh, okay. There we go. Oh my goodness. This woman, still not out of it. She falls to the ground. She was kind of reeling back before, but not doing anything to like stop you. But now she's completely lost her balance and she tumbles backward. And now she's prone. But she just still does not wake up. So you can go again, Bambi.
just lays into her, just like, what on earth just happened? Okay. 4 again. Bambi's laid into her like shrieking nonsensical garbage at her. As she is just trying to beat this woman's face to a pulp with her high heel.
So yeah, Bambi, I would assume kind of loses her sense of self for a moment, just flown
Totally.
into this absolute rage. In my mind, I just picture her screeching
Yes.
as she like digs this high heel into this woman's face over and over. To the point where like Anastasia puts her gun down and she's very concerned that the loud noise is going to draw the attention of other splicers in the area, but it's like a train wreck and you can't stop watching. So she's completely dumbfounded. Like she's totally unable to tell Bambi to stop. But just Bambi going to town with this high heel straight into this woman's face until she like the fight goes out of her. Whatever was holding her up and keeping her bound to Bambi's spell just leaves. She's out. She's on the ground. Like her hands don't even twitch. She is just, there's no response for her, and there's no reason for you to believe that she is still alive.
So Bambi is still beating this woman's face to a pulp, wherein she says, "Just fucking go to sleep, you bitch!"
Nobody moved. I dropped my brain. Yes, thank you. Absolutely me.
Let's see when you drop your die.
Yeah.
But Bambi eventually loses steam, and she just like lets her arms drop to the side of her, breathing heavily, covered in viscera and blood, and it's just
boy.
like, "Fuck you, Vixen. Fuck you."
So,
And then gets up again. Starts like brushing herself off.
can Klaus do a thing?
Yes.
Okay, so rewinding a bit. After Klaus has sliced the artery, and Bambi's getting ready to do her thing, and after he's like, "You got red on you," Klaus is just going to backstep back into the shadows with a ta. And then I would like to have Klaus let out a yelp and fall, and go, "Dear gods, where did that splicer come from?" While putting the scalpel back in the med kit.
Excellent. So you are putting your scalpel away, and then you hear Bambi singing, and then suddenly she is on this splicer and doing a number on her with the heel of her shoe. Do you have any response to that, Niklaus?
Let me see. No. Niklaus now is just watching with like, need to be careful of that.
That's such a vague statement. Be careful of what? There's so much. You've got Sid over here stabbing people for no apparent reason. Bambi just dismantling someone's face. And your alter ego slashing arteries. Which one would you like to be careful of?
Don't worry, it's only a problem if you're a girl.
The Bambi beating the shit out of somebody's face with a high heel.
Yeah.
I
mean-
That's Pepper shouting.
Klaus, like,
You're fine unless you're a girl.
Klaus, and Niklas just says, like, I need to be careful of that, just, like, quietly to himself. Klaus on the inside is frankly turned on by what's happening with Bambi and this other splicer.
I absolutely hate it. Take it back.
I would like
Klaus, on
to
the other
add,
hand, is very cautious about it.
mortified. I would like to add this. Bambi's like trying to like brush the blood off of her. She says, "Who says that murder's not an art? And who, in case she doesn't hang, can say she started with a bang? Bambi!"
Oh my god.
In the famous words of Roxy from Chicago.
Oh my god.
So, in this absolute mess of an ordeal that you have just experienced,
Uh-huh.
Anastasia lowers her shotgun and she stands there, and she is just absolutely dumbstruck by this turn of events. And she's very concerned with Bambi. Like, she looks at Bambi and that concern is on her face, and it's kind of a mixture of like concerned for her mental health and her well-being, but also concerned for herself, because she's like, note to self, don't get on Bambi's bad side. But then she kind of casts a glance over to Niklaus, and that concern morphs into something a lot stronger. The distress is obviously still there. I mean, she wasn't too peachy keen on you to begin with, but now there's almost an alarm to it as well. She wasn't very trustful of you guys right off the bat, just by your demeanor and how you guys brought like all of this luggage. But now she knows that there's something genuine to be careful of. And when she looks at you, Niklaus, like her posture is a little bit rigid, and her eyebrows pull together, and she's got like just this look of, it's almost like a mixture of like a little bit of fear. Like she doesn't know where to go from here. But after a moment, she shakes it off and it's gone. And she goes to Pepper and kind of nudges the flashlight in Pepper's hand to adjust it, so she doesn't actually put hands on Pepper, just because of her reaction with Bambi. So she knows not to do that.
Yes, very
but
smart.
she uses a finger and just kind of like lifts Pepper's hand with the flashlight in it, to cast the beam down the train tunnel, and there's nothing there immediately. Like there's no other splicers lying in wait or anything. But as everybody sort of quiets down and Bambi's voice fades, you can hear other voices coming from that direction. And Anastasia looks to each of you and she says, "Well, how does Hephaestus Forge sound now?"
Oh, I was hoping we'd be more prepared.
Klaus gets up and, seeing that Bambi's fine, quote unquote, we'll move over to the rest of the group and respond to Anastasia. Perhaps the forge would be best. It would seem that the dark is very dangerous. I tried to rush in to help our dear Bambi and was, I don't know where they came from, but I was shoved to the ground. There was blood everywhere. It was horrifying. It's very, very dangerous, very unsafe. We should get the lights back on.
Anastasia, she looks at you with that same kind of mixture of like awe, suspicion, a little bit of fear, and she doesn't contest what you're saying. She just lets it go. This is not the battle that she wants to pick today, so she doesn't say anything. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah?
Is Niklaus's goal to try and convince like Pepper and Anastasia and Sid that Klaus is not the same person as Niklaus?
Yes.
So
At least for now.
Should I roll something to see if Sid believes that?
So
I would assume
I
that
guess
Sid
that's-
would know.
Yeah, that's my question. A little bit more like backstory here, just
Yes.
off topic for a moment. So Sid, you have been you've been with Niklaus now for a while. Niklaus, would Sid know? Would you have told her about this other person, or would she have seen Klaus come out before? Is there like this unspoken rule that Sid just pretends it's not there, but she still knows? Like what kind of relationship is that?
There might be more of like the latter. Niklaus definitely hasn't told Sid anything about it. And is also trying to deceive Sid as well, though Sid would have a much better chance, I think, of picking up on something weird being the case there.
So then, as a secondary question, Niklaus didn't tell Sid, but would Klaus have told Sid?
That's a good question.
I feel like Klaus is the type to do it just for badness. So Klaus would be like, hey, Sid, don't tell Niklaus that you know. And then Niklaus just goes on believing that Sid doesn't know.
That's a possibility. Though Klaus and Niklaus are always aware of what's happening with the other.
Okay. So that was my question.
Yeah, so I could see Klaus doing that just to fuck with Sid. But I think Niklaus has been able to keep the reins on Klaus enough so far that Klaus has not said anything or fully shown themselves around Sid.
Right.
Because as much of a bastard as Niklaus is, he still does care about Sid to some extent.
Right. So, Sid, how aware of this do you think she'd be? Like, obviously, so we've just established there's no actual spoken confirmation that this is the way it is. But being in close quarters with Niklaus and Klaus constantly, how observant do you think Sid is in that regard? Like, is she aware that, okay, maybe these are two separate people, like I'm just not going to say anything but still treat them as such? Or is it all just Niklaus to her?
For her currently, it's mostly sorry, I'm thinking because of also her past experiences before Niklaus. It would kind of be like Niklaus and like, because she extremely looks up and like worships everything that Niklaus does. So she's very, very, very attentive. So she would have definitely noticed differences and compartmentalized it as like, there's this Niklaus and this Niklaus, but ultimately it's not that she really sees Niklaus as two separate what's the word?
Entities,
but like, so she doesn't know exactly what's going on or why it's going on, but she does notice that sometimes there's differences.
right? Okay, so you wanted to roll to see if you knew the difference. Is there something in particular that you're rolling to achieve? Like, building on that, like she knows that there are differences, or is it just more of a confirmation of like, oh, okay, this is just another kind of that?
So I don't know if she would have ever experienced Klaus like this to this extent ever before,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Plus hasn't really been allowed to come out like this before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that this would be something where she would be like, wait, like, because I did notice like Niklaus behaving uncharacteristically at the first, but she's never seen Klaus come out, especially in that way. So I think it's more of a rolling to see like if she actually buys that Niklaus wasn't the other voice.
Yeah, I will get you to roll intuition for me.
Oof. Sid, you daft girl.
My
Two.
champagne is
Did you just
empty.
do a Nicholas voice? That's what it
amazing.
sounded like.
Riley
it
is
wasn't
dunking on her own
but-
character. Yeah. so
Sid's inner
Sid's-
monologue is Nick Klaus being down on her.
Yeah, pretty much. She just dunks on herself in Niklaus's voice. So yeah, Sid, you don't like. There's no separation of identities for you. You still kind of, it's not any different. It's still kind of much the same as you've always experienced. Just kind of like these two different things that you're putting into different compartments. So you don't feel as if there's anything off about what Niklaus says.
Okay. Sorry. I just want to I'm a little bit confused. Can I clarify some things cuz I'm a little bit confused?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
So when Klaus came out, Klaus wasn't visible to the rest of the party, correct? Cuz that's what I was kind of rolling to see if like
Yeah,
not
that's-
if she's connecting it as two separate beings, but if she's connecting that Niklaus, that body killed the splicer.
That's why Klaus was sticking to the shadows, so there would be, at least a good chunk of doubt, if not make it impossible to tell that it was Niklaus's, body doing all of this. The idea is to make it seem like another splicer came in out of nowhere, sliced this guy's throat, and then ran away.
Okay. Either way, yeah, it is what it is. Nobody really questions anything to a large degree, just because it's more like, okay, we'll have time to analyze later. Maybe we should get going. So yeah, Anastasia is like, okay, like, I guess we're going to Hephaestus Forge now, right? So are you guys on board with that, or do you press for the apartments?
I would like to let you know that Bambi rolled a 4 for resistance.
Ah, okay. Right, because Vixen was your trigger, right?
Yeah.
You have 4 symptoms, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, would you like to roll a d4? Actually, we already used blindness, so
Yeah.
I
I think that was 1. I got a 2 this time.
okay. So what
Which
is your second
is-
symptom?
Where did I put that?
They should
Hold
be on
on.
the bottom of your
Oh, I see it. Haha. Blindness.
No,
Oh,
we already did blindness.
that one. So 2 up from there would be hallucinations.
Okay. So what are the most prominent hallucinations that Bambi experiences, do you think?
Well, shoot. Probably everything being a stage in a musical. And beating the ever living shit out of Vixen. And Castillo essentially proposing to her.
Never gonna
amazing.
happen, but I guess that's why it's a hallucination.
A girl can
Um,
dream.
All right, so we'll hold on to that for now. But just to go back to the initial question, who is on board with going back to Hephaestus Forge? So that seems to be what Anastasia is pushing for most. She believes that this is the correct path for them to go.
Baby's down
Uh,
for, I guess, whatever.
Yeah, Niklas is on board with getting the power back on.
Yeah, Pepper, she was like okay. Pepper's no dummy. She knows that there's a lot of people coming or a lot of things coming, and that they are not in a position where they're prepared. If she had time to set up her little traps and get to higher ground and things like that, sure, but nope. So she kind of gave up. She just kind of sagged shoulders, like, oh, I wanted to be more prepared, or I wanted to have more supplies.
We're
So.
just gonna have to search it, I guess.
Yes. All right. So I assume, Sid, that if Niklaus is on board with heading back, then you are as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Anastasia kind of gets a little kick of urgency to her and kind of ushers you all back towards the glass tunnels as the sound of people approaching gets louder. So at first,
Bambi would go along, but she'd be like, no, those bodies have important things on them. Okay. Fine.
so Bambi, as you're leaving with the rest of the group, you look back to the train tunnel, and you just catch a glimpse of these two splicer bodies on the ground as Pepper's flashlight kind of leaves the tunnel. And to you, you are disappearing behind these very high-strung, heavy velvet drapes behind a stage. And you don't see splicers on the ground, but you see men and women sitting in their seats as you are looking down on them. You're probably back at say, for example, the lounge that you sang at most frequently. And these are people sitting down at their tables, and you are blowing them kisses as they beg you to
100%.
stay and give an encore.
I would love to, my darlings, but I must be on my way. You may throw your tips upon the stage, and I will have somebody collect them for me. And believe me, I do read every love note you send to me.
So do any of you respond to this? Bambi seems to
Yes.
be talking to the corpses.
Niklas moves over to Bambi and says, well, I shall have to make a note to write such a letter for you shortly. However, it would seem that you still have some of your stage makeup seems to have run. And Niklas will hand her one of his handkerchiefs. And
Niklaus
sort of motion to the blood on the face.
Yeah, Niklaus, you hand over this this handkerchief or this cloth or whatever, and Bambi, all you see is John Castillo handing you a handkerchief, a crisp white handkerchief that has like little flowers embroidered up the side, and a large looping C embroidered into the fabric. And John hands that to you and just gives you one of the most brilliant smiles.
Bambi takes the handkerchief, pats at her cheeks just a little bit, and she says, Johnny boy, oh, I love you so, and gives him a peck on the cheek and giggles. And it's like, I'll be in my dressing room for whenever you need me. And like prances off.
With that, I don't think Niklas is going to say anything to that, but with that, if there's a moment that he could be sure that only Anastasia is looking at him, uh, is there such a moment in that short time frame right after this happens?
I would say that probably so, just because I know at the very beginning, like there was rarely a time when Anastasia would turn her back to you. And now, especially with Klaus having kind of come out a little bit and her hearing that, now she is very, very rigid in that stance. She's not going to turn her back to you. So while everybody is filing back towards the way they came, she has absolutely got her back towards the wall so that she can keep eyes on you. So yes, I do believe so.
Okay, cool. So Niklas is looking perfectly innocent and disheveled and a little shaken. Has that exchange with Bambi, and then as soon as he sees that only Anastasia is looking at him, he will give her like the most predatory, malicious smile for just the briefest of seconds before going back to looking perfectly innocent.
Both of her hands tighten on her shotgun perceptibly, like her knuckles turn white as her hands kind of like tighten around the shotgun, and they start to tremble just slightly, but the look on her face is just pure distrust. It's not she's not trembling like, oh woe is me, like this scary man. No, it's if you come any closer to me, I will put a fucking shotgun bullet straight into your head. Like that shell is going straight through you, son. Keep your distance. So yeah, you guys start to retreat, and I think that is a good moment for us to take a break.
Perfect.
I'm
We'll be
gonna
back
get more
in about-
champagne.
We'll be back in about 10 minutes, so go grab a drink, for example, or snacks or anything you need to do. Stretch your legs, and we will be right back. are back.
Yay!
All right. Oh, all right. So let's jump right back into it. So you guys are continuing back towards the bathysphere hub that that brought you out into Adonis Plaza initially. So you go back the way you came. You pass by that glass walkway again. This time you do not see any guardians. They've since moved on. You cannot discern where they've gone. You can't see them from where you are. You just know that whoever it was that was working on that glass tunnel, he's not there anymore. But you can still hear noises coming back from where you just came from. So I don't think it's in anybody's best interest, and it's certainly not at the top of Anastasia's priorities to stop and look to see if she can find the guardian. So she just keeps on going. Are you guys still going strong behind her? Anybody stopping?
As far as Bambi's concerned, the bathysphere is her dressing room.
Excellent. So Bambi, you look beside you, and it is still John Castillo who is escorting you to your dressing room.
Bambi's like wraps an arm around his arm and like lays her head on his shoulder and just gives him a pat while humming Roxy from Chicago to herself because she's a conceited bitch.
Niklaus, what is your reaction to all this affectionate action from Bambi?
Niklaus is just taking it in stride. He's not overly like warm towards Bambi in this, but not cold either. So sort of like in his own way is reciprocating. But Niklaus is not really one for a lot of affection, at least not openly. So he's just sort of, allowing all of that, and maybe the occasional like head pat with his free hand.
Awesome. What does Sid think of this as Bambi is hanging off of Niklaus's arm?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Raven, but I imagine Sid has seen Niklaus, be friendly with these women who will throw themselves all over him, and really does it as a way to get ahead and things. And is that something that Niklaus would be like?
Yeah, Niklaus has been known to strategically flirt with and socialize with women to facilitate a business deal, or a merger, or get information, or things like that, or just because Niklaus has needs too, and and wants to address that. Niklaus wants to make some pork chops.
We will not tarnish the absolute art that is making delicious pork chops. So I will ask you, ma'am, to please refrain from using that sentence in that manner.
Okay.
Do not use pork chops in vain.
So when Niklaus wants to get lucky, yes, he does that. He doesn't seem to be employing any of those tactics here quite so much. The closest approximation would be when he flirts with or socializes with women to gain information or favors of the normal kind of favors.
Okay. Yeah, so Sid's reaction, Sid's like, I see this all the time. Sid sometimes, will like be the little wing person. Maybe like if they're at a party, shed some tears, or and maybe Niklaus will come up and be like, oh, and then this lady that Niklaus is trying to get favors from will be like, oh, you're so good with her, just stuff like that. So Sid's
absolutely.
Sid's like this.
Sid just
this
plays
is
into it.
And like when she's not looking, like Niklaus will pass Sid like some cash or something.
Absolutely.
Excellent. All right. And Pepper, what are you doing? Are you up with Anastasia?
Yeah, she is definitely around Anastasia and keeping her dogs close. And she keeps like I mean, Anastasia has seen Pepper like paranoid before, back in the one bathysphere.
Yeah.
Right now, like she's kind of doing that same paranoid kind of suspicion where she keeps glancing back at Niklaus and Sid and Bambi and just very cautious and definitely not comfortable with the situation.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, she's feeling like she's being stalked by a bunch of beasts, and the beasts are their company. So she is not having it.
I don't blame her.
Honestly, so paranoid. Should probably talk to someone about that.
Listen. Nothing from the peanut gallery, thank you. Niklaus. Okay, yeah. So Anastasia and Pepper are kind of like at the I would say the head of the group, just because Anastasia wants to make sure that they are making haste back to the bathysphere. But she's still holding herself a little bit rigidly. She doesn't like the fact that Niklaus is behind her, but she knows that Bambi is occupying him enough, and Sid is there, so there's a good chance that hopefully nothing will happen while her back is turned. But she doesn't slow down. She doesn't lessen her pace for anybody. If they follow her, then they follow her. If they don't and they get caught up in something, then see you later, alligators. But at one point she does reach into, so she has a little brown knapsack, like a little leather bag on her back. And she does at one point while she's walking slide one strap off and bring the bag around to her front. And she rummages around in the front of it, and you can hear like the metallic clinking of tools and stuff in there. But she pulls out a little wrapped like biscuit, and she takes a bite of it and then cracks the rest into two pieces for the dogs. And she kind of leans down and just tosses the two pieces of the biscuit to the dogs.
So, the dogs are on edge because Pepper's on edge, and like they immediately like look up once there's like an unusual sound, but then they start kind of wagging their tail and gobble up the biscuits. So it seems like in general they are fine with Anastasia, but they are definitely just not in a good mood in general right now.
Yeah.
Quick question: is that like a biscuit and like a cookie kind of biscuit, or like a savory pastry type of biscuit?
Like cookies.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so I would say that the trip back is a little noisier than when you guys first went through. So when you first went through, it was very eerie in its solitude and its quietness. Things were not making loud noises. Now that you yourselves have made a commotion in an adjacent building, it's almost like this one is starting to come alive a little bit more. So you've got, lots of sounds echoing off of the different surfaces. You can hear faint voices that are yelling in the distance, and from what you can pick out, it's absolute nonsense. Like nobody's crying for help or anything like that. Like it's not a coherent person. It's not a sane person. These are clearly splicers who are just in the throes of insanity. Screaming, calling out, crying. There's a lot of crying happening. And and then you'll hear like a woman's voice crying, and then suddenly she'll be like, oh, where's my other shoe? Like it's absolute nonsense. But other than that, you guys don't run into anything on your way back.
With the mess, I would like to add, with the mention of the shoe, Bambi unceremoniously wipes her shoe on Niklaus and puts it back on.
So Bambi,
That's all I had to add.
to you, Bambi, you've just wiped this disgusting substance on.
She wouldn't wipe it on Bambi. She'd wipe it on anybody else.
Yeah.
Or she wouldn't wipe it on John. She'd wipe it on anybody else.
Yes. So you still see John next to you. Are you
That's right.
wiping a dirty shoe on John's pristine white jacket?
How does she see everybody else?
That's a good question. I would kind of imagine it to be like she sees them as them, but to her, like, she doesn't make the connection in her head that these are the people she was just with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like she knows that these are people that she is with.
She goes over to Sid and she says, "Darling, could I get your help with something?"
Sid quickly looks at Niklaus just to kind of see if there's like a play along with this nod or.
Niklaus just sort of gives Sid like a shrug, kind of a like, I'm not sure where she's going with this, so it's up to you, kind of a look.
Yes, Mom, how can I help you?
And she lifts her shoe and she says, "Darling, I think I got a little gaff tape stuck on the back of my heel. And like she says, do you mind? But she's not really asking as she reaches over to wipe it on Sid.
Jay!
Hi, Jay.
Hi, Jay. Sid just.
Oh, I had no idea what you were talking about that time. Hi, Jay.
Sid just kind of has this smile on her face, but then she kind of grimaces and
the smile goes from up to down.
The smile kind of goes from up to sideways, right?
Yeah.
And you could tell Sid's trying and is just no problem.
In Sid's mind, she's just like, can I punch this bitch and get away with it?
So Baby puts her shoe back on and everything goes back to normal. Well, to you guys, maybe not to Bambi.
Yes, if you want to roll for resistance to see if she snaps out of it, you certainly can.
Okay, I will.
Although it seems like this is just a fabulous hallucination anyway. Why would you want to?
Right? I don't want to.
So,
where did my character go?
where did my to the moon? So
I found it.
Yes, Rowan.
So Pepper actually does step after, Anastasia feeds the dogs pieces of biscuit. She does step closer and she's like, I have a really, really bad feeling. Are you sure we're okay? She doesn't say, but her eyes do move back.
Anastasia laughs a little bit, but it's kind of humorless. She's not actually laughing. But she just says, "Oh, darling, I am never sure that anything is okay, and even less sure now. But we have things that we must do, so we will keep going."
Afraid we're gonna be eaten alive.
Well, we are going to work very hard to assure that that does not happen. So Yaz, what did you roll?
20. Best
Okay.
roll of the night.
So you, while Anastasia and Pepper are kind of whispering amongst themselves, you slap back to reality, like just full on clarity. And it's kind of like the most clarity you've had in a long time. And you see yourself like hanging on to Niklaus's arm, and you are fully aware that where Niklaus is standing was just John Castillo. Like you are totally aware that that's a distinction. Like you know that that's what you were seeing, and you see that you have wiped your shoe on Sid um, rather rudely. So yeah, you come back to reality and you know exactly what's going on. You remember what just happened, where your surroundings are, and what you've done.
Bambi, like, kind of peels herself back from Niklaus. And she kind of gives, like, an awkward pet to their shoulder. And just, like, takes a large step away. And just looks down at her hands. And she's just like, fuck, I thought you were Castillo. She puts on like the most fake ass smile you have ever seen.
So Niklaus, what was it actually that you gave Bambi to wipe her face with?
A handkerchief.
Okay, was it just a plain one? Was there anything on it?
It's probably monogrammed, so it's probably got like an A on it, a fancy cursive A.
Okay, and what
Or,
color is it?
Adama.
Like the A and the handkerchief?
The A would be red, and I think the fabric would be like an off-white cream color.
Okay, so Bambi, you look down and you see this in your hand, and you were absolutely certain that this was a beautiful, crisp white handkerchief with these tiny little embroidered flowers, and a large, like, loopy C. And it hits very hard for you in that moment, when you look and you see that this is in fact not John Castillo's handkerchief, and in fact it looks nothing like John Castillo's handkerchief, and that he was not here at all, and it was all in your head, and he has not offered. Yeah, he has not offered to bring you back to your dressing room at all. And you are very firmly aware that this is not the type of attitude that John Castillo ever had towards you. He was not the soft, doting, loving kind, and it would have been very out of character for him to be soft on you like that. So that is very forefront in your mind.
Bambi's a little shell shocked for a moment, and then she sniffles a little bit, wipes her cheek with the back of her hand, and sort of just like slaps the handkerchief back to Niklaus and just like takes 2 steps ahead, like to quickly move between Anastasia and Niklaus and Sid. Be ashamed of herself.
Before Bambi pulls away, like, entirely, like, probably right after the shoulder pats, Niklaus rather, would look over to Bambi and just say, "I'm sorry you seem to have mistaken me for someone else, but I will just say that they must have been a very lucky person."
She sniffles harder. She doesn't respond.
As Bambi slaps the handkerchief back, Klaus offers a flask with some whiskey
takes
in
it. And she drinks all of it.
That's totally fine. Niklaus will sort of shove the handkerchief into the med kit. which is quite handily covering up the fact that that scalpel's still bloody.
Very nice.
We love to see it.
Boy.
Yeah, so you guys walk like that for a little while longer. You take all the twists and turns that you took the first time. The layout of this particular set of buildings is relatively straightforward. Like, you don't have to go anywhere specific to get back to where you were. There are no, like, lanes or avenues that are busted up or that are covered in by debris or anything like that. So it is a relatively easy journey back to the forefront of Adonis Plaza. There are a couple of occasions where Anastasia kind of takes a different hallway or a different avenue just to avoid voices that seem louder than the others. Just to be on the safe side, she wants to get back to Adonis Plaza as fast as she can, so that you guys don't get caught up in another battle with some splicers. But eventually you do make it back, and you're greeted by that large metal sign that reads Adonis Plaza, and kind of the background that looks like rays of sunshine. That like that pattern you see on a lot of Art Deco, where it's kind of like the diagonal lines that look like rays. Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's that large metal sign with the brassy letters. And yeah, you guys are back to the bathysphere. Is there anything you want to do before you leave Adonis Plaza, or do you guys just file into the bathysphere?
I mean, I think that, like, once Bambi kind of came out of her shell shock, she might be poking through things as they're walking along. But nothing specifically that she would hold everybody up for.
Yeah, you can roll investigate to see if you come up with anything,
Yeah.
just as you're poking through.
Okay.
What about the rest of you? Do you guys like poke around as you're going?
Not so much. Niklas is just going to hold open the door to the bathysphere, regardless of whether it needs to be held open or not.
It does not.
Yeah, he's just going to stand there to allow everyone in before him.
Well, if they okay, do they pass the place where the guy was caught in the bear trap?
You mean Shia LaBeouf?
Yeah.
So if I remember correctly, they came out of the bathysphere and down those steps, right? Like that was immediately
Yes.
yeah. So you get back there, and you see the bear trap. You do not see the guy. You do not see Shia LaBeouf in the bear trap. But there was clearly a point where he decided, fuck it, and just ripped it right through his leg. Yeah, like he wasn't careful about it. There is still a leg in that bear trap, and there is blood leading away from it. So you know that he ripped his leg out of it.
I mean, Pepper might be interested in taking it. That's really the only thing.
The leg?
Yeah.
Not the leg, the bear
The
trap,
bear
you
trap.
stinker.
It's a legitimate question in this campaign.
Though if the leg is just sitting there, the dogs will probably have a field
No.
day.
Doggies, no.
They're hungry.
Jay, y'all are nasty.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Jay, these people are mutating because of their genetic material being ass blasted by Cain. So, yeah, we a little nasty.
Yeah, no, I think Pepper does kind of stop them, like, wait, let me. And she takes the bear trap, does pull out a handkerchief and wipes it down. And then, yeah, just kind of slings it over her shoulder. And the dogs, meanwhile, are like, oh, hey, meat. Treat.
Is Pepper currently carrying anything else besides the antique gun?
I mean, she does have, like, her bag. of stuff and a gunpowder horn. I think that's it.
Okay.
So she's got supplies there, but
Yeah.
guns over one
Okay.
shoulder, she can totally carry
Yeah.
this on the other shoulder.
This thing is like what, 20, 25 pounds?
Yes,
Um,
it is hard to tote around, but
Yeah.
she definitely sees she's definitely done it before, and she definitely sees a good reason to, and might set it up while they sleep.
Yes, excellent. Okay, so yes, you pick up the bear trap. You guys are good. You go up over that staircase back into the bathysphere station. Niklaus is holding open a door that doesn't need to be held open. Quite the gentleman, I guess. Nobody trusts you. Stop trying to act cool. You think you're being sneaky, but you're not. You're a little bitch. Anyway, moving on.
Bambi rolled a 15 for investigation.
Yeah, so as you're walking, like you don't get to stay and really do a deep rummage of anything. Just mostly like trash cans on the way. If Bambi is brave enough to stick her hand in trash cans. Like little counter areas, the stray cash register,
tabletops.
yeah,
Registers and stuff.
stray register that might be on the way if there are like little stalls or anything like that. You managed to grab, I'd say maybe $12 out of a couple cash registers. There's not a whole lot left. The place is relatively ransacked. And you do manage to dig up 5 components. And you can stick those somewhere for future use. They could be useful for your gun. I don't know if you want to hold them in your titty pocket, but you're certainly
definitely
welcome.
like cogs and duct tape is just like pouring out of the bustier of her dress.
Yes, like I said, her titty pocket.
Yes.
Actually changed my mind. So while everyone is busy, I'd like to see if there's a way to hack the bathysphere to cause a problem that Niklaus could then easily fix.
That's a dangerous thing to do because we're
It's
traveling
very
underwater.
dangerous.
You can certainly try.
There's the GM talk.
I'm a natural, you guys.
What I need to roll to see if there's something that I could do before actually attempting to do it.
I would say roll investigate for me first before you actually do anything. Here, I'll throw out another GM one for you. Are you sure you want to do that?
No, but Klaus is very sure. Okay, investigate. Got 20.
Raven, are you trying to kill me?
No, just try to kill everyone else.
Jesus. Now you're gonna make me figure out the engineering behind a bathysphere. Are you?
So I could give suggestions if you would like.
All right. Let's go this direction. What is it that you are like trying to accomplish? Like what sort of things would you like to be able to do to the bathysphere?
Like maybe have it be underway and it's starting to lose pressure, or like there's a small leak that happens, that Niklaus knows, just happens to know the exact thing to do to fix it and saves everyone. Klaus is currently doing this, by the way.
Jesus, Klaus, go home, my love. So I would say in terms of like leaks and stuff, that you probably deduce that there is nothing you can do in terms of that. This thing is like fucking huge. This is like, super reinforced metal. It's designed to withstand a lot of pressure, and you are quite certain that if you were to try and go that avenue, you were just going to straight up kill everybody, yourself included. And I know that you are a selfish bastard and that you would like to live. So you're definitely sure that this is not something that is plausible. However, given that you rolled a nat 20, you know that there is a way to mess with the sensors on the bathysphere to give the illusion that this is an issue that you are experiencing.
Perfect.
So you are not going to actually mess with the bathysphere itself, but you are going to give the illusion that there is a problem, which
Even
you
better.
then know that you can fix. So nobody's actually endangered. They just think they are. Does that work for you?
Perfect. How do I do it?
All right. So you want to mess with the sensors. There's probably like a, pressure sensor, oxygen gauge, all that kind of thing built into the bathysphere itself, which can be read from the inside. You know that you want to attack those. You want to hit those to mess those up. So I'm going to get you to roll for Tinker.
Okay. And of course, doing this while everyone is preoccupied, so nobody sees him doing it, is the goal.
I think that was the nat 20. So the nat 20 was
Tinker.
the whole. You don't see anything.
15.
What can we do with a 15? Would you like to use a D6?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's a 5.
Okay. So you take a look while everybody is preoccupied. Bambi's kind of digging around for some stuff. The dogs have not yet caught up, so Pepper's waiting for them. Everybody's kind of preoccupied. Anastasia, for the moment, is not paying too much attention to you. You are able to quickly take a look at the pressure gauge. And despite your bag containing medical supplies, you do have instruments that are small enough to kind of get into the little workings of the gauges. And you are able to pop something out of place. Hold on now. Let me just follow up on that 1 second. Anastasia doesn't so she wasn't looking when you started doing this, but she does turn around and see you inside the bathysphere. She doesn't see what you're doing, but she does know that you're inside, like looking at things. So when you come back out, she is looking at you and she knows that you are, she doesn't particularly know that obviously you're fucking with things, but she knows that something is fishy. And she did see you poking around in there. So she locks eyes with you to make sure that you know that she's seen you. And then she kind of looks back to the others and waits for them to catch up.
Niklas is going to take the initiative on that. As soon as the eye contact happens, Niklas becomes, the curious scientist that likes to talk too much, and goes over to Anastasia and says, "These really are remarkable machines. The amount of pressure that they can withstand, how they travel, and it's all quite self-contained. I'm really quite impressed by the feat of engineering."
Anastasia looks you up and down. She doesn't know what you're onto, but she's just very distrusting of you on the whole. So she's not quite sure what you're up to, but she's not she's not going to be fooled. She just kind of nods and says, "Yes, very impressive indeed." But
And
go
Nicholas
ahead.
is saying this loud enough for everyone else to hear as well. I forgot to mention.
Okay, so you guys hear him say this. Do you have any response to it, or is it just like passing comment from Niklaus?
Bambi is way too self-absorbed at the moment with her shame to like give him more than just like a quick glance.
What about Sid? Where has Sid been?
Sid is just very like, what are we doing? Like, I thought we were going to this place where there's machines that I get to look at.
Where were you while Niklaus was inside tinkering with the stuff in there? Did you say? Am I just not remembering? My brain doing a bad?
No, I imagine Sid would just be like lurking by Anastasia, maybe like asking like seemingly random, outlandish questions.
To Anastasia?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, while she's doing that, Anastasia would be answering them. You get the feeling that she's not going too far into detail with things, especially like if you're asking questions about specifically how things from Exodus work and like substances and stuff like that. Like nothing too in depth, but she does give you like answers that are satisfactory for now, kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Careful answers.
Yes, very calculated. She's very choosy with what she says.
I would say Pepper is not comfortable with Niklaus talking to Anastasia at this point.
That makes two of us.
Yeah. So she just keeps on glancing back like worriedly, just making sure Anastasia like looking at Anastasia, meeting her eyes, and going like, "You good? You good?"
Yeah,
You know,
Anastasia.
the immortal language of women trying to expressively communicate with each other when a man is involved.
Yeah, it's honestly,
Seriously.
it's an art. It's truly an art.
I think
It's
we got
true.
dropped on stream. Or
What'd you say,
maybe
Riley?
Is stream working for everybody else? I can't see us.
You might need
Yeah.
to refresh the page.
Yeah, it's working. just
Sometimes
fine
it
here.
goes out for me.
Good. Okay.
Which said
Yeah,
bye.
seems to be working. Thank you for checking, though.
Awesome. Okay, so yes, from what you can tell, Anastasia is fine for now. She's not in any distress. She is guarded and careful, but
Yeah, she still
that is the norm.
just checks, like make sure they
Yeah.
have eye contact and things like that. Like, are you all right?
Are you okay, yes?
I drew on my wine cup with Sharpie and it wouldn't come off.
Oh
You just had this disgusted expression on your face.
Oh my gosh.
Tonight is the night of really weird expressions. You've only seen half of them.
All right, so
Um,
everybody gets into the bathysphere then. Once
Yes.
everybody catches up, everybody's good to go. We all pile in. And then the process starts again. So Anastasia makes sure that the latch is sufficiently closed, that nothing is out of place. She does not notice anything tampered with just by looking. And she does not have any particular gut feeling on top of the I don't trust this guy.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to alert to her that anything has been messed with. So the doors close in front of the bathysphere, and then the the water level starts to rise as the room, I guess the best way is like it depressurizes. The water comes in bit by bit, filters in through a vent until the whole section is filled up, and then the back doors open across the back of the bathysphere, and you guys are out again. So you are making, this is the same trek that you've made once. Anastasia does seem a little bit nervous to be going back to the atrium hub, the transport hub, because like she said, going back and forth to the same locations time and time again, could draw a lot of focus to those specific locations. So she's a little on edge about what, if anything, you might find in the atrium. Given the fact that last time it wasn't too bad, the Mr. Snuggles did chase everybody out of there from what you guys could see. So, she's on edge, but she's not super out of it or anything like that. The trek is smooth sailing for the first little bit. You guys are seeing the same thing that you've seen before. The neon signs, the tall buildings, some little creatures skitting around, like squids and stuff like that. Fish, schools of fish, neon lights coming down from the bases of the buildings, illuminating the sides of the buildings. And this is the primary source of light, all these little fixtures at the bottoms of the buildings and things like that.
So imagine
Yeah.
Pepper's a little bit more talkative this time. I remember last time she was way more on edge.
Yes.
But she's like, I used to think this place was really beautiful, and then it became a prison.
Anastasia doesn't answer that, but you can see it in the way that her face kind of drops a little bit, that she absolutely agrees with you.
She's like, same fam, same.
Yeah. So how old did we say Pepper was?
Pepper was 22, I believe.
22. Okay.
Yeah,
so
she's 22.
yeah,
So she was a wee bab. She was like 7 or 8 when she moved here.
yeah. So Pepper would have known like the childish delight of the city. She would have been seeing the city through a child's eyes, through the grandeur of whatever a child can make out of a city like this. A playground, a cool space, unlike anything that she's ever seen before. Anastasia, on the other hand, was considerably older when she arrived at the city. She was in her early 20s when she first got here. So she has a little bit more of a wiser insight on how truly remarkable the city was when it first started. The absolute feats of science and art and literature and architecture coming out of this space. She was able to experience it all through the lens of an adult, which I'm not saying is better, but it's different. She had a better grasp on that. So whereas Pepper kind of came into it with a child's eyes, and then slowly that kind of got tainted by her use of cane. Anastasia, on the other hand, was completely sober for the entire fall of the city and the Civil War. So she knows exactly what happened. She can trace you out the pattern with her eyes closed, from point A to point Z. She knows exactly where everything went wrong and the progression of people's illnesses. And she worked side by side with those illnesses. So for her, that statement carries a lot more weight than she's trying to let on that it does, just because it's very, very true. And she unfortunately had to watch that through absolute sober eyes. And it's moments like that when she wishes that perhaps she wasn't as sober, but then she realizes that the consequences of that thinking are perhaps a little bit worse than the hand that she's been dealt. So then she kind of feels a little bit guilty about it. But yes, she gives Pepper a little bit of a nod, and like a little bit of a smile. Just it's not anything. She doesn't beam at her or anything like that, but it's just a little smile of comfort, to know that somebody else kind of feels the same way that you do.
Yeah. Um, and that's probably the moment where shit hits the fan.
Yes, absolutely.
So just
So
the smile, and then Pepper like catches that smile and starts smiling back.
yep. And then alarms start to go off inside the bathysphere. And just as quick as that smile came to Anastasia's face, she whips around and is immediately on these sensors that are going completely haywire. The pressure gauge is showing that they're losing pressure at an alarming rate. And the oxygen gauge is also going down very, very quickly. And she frantically looks around to see if she can discern what the cause is. And to her knowledge, like there's nothing visible that she can see happening. So she's frantic. She doesn't know what's going on. She's never had this happen to her before. These bathyspheres are, a decade old, and she's never experienced a problem like this before. So she doesn't know what's happening.
No, what could it be? We're all doomed. Who's flying this thing?
Um, if you're here and I'm here, who's driving the car? I think Pepper is startled enough that she actually drops the bear trap. Should I roll to see who it hits, like whose feet it squishes?
For the record, Bambi is sitting in the fetal position on the chair, staring out of a porthole until the alarms go off.
As soon as the alarms go off, Niklaus strategically waits a couple of seconds, like maybe 5 to 10 seconds, coming up just behind Anastasia to try and figure out what the problem could be.
Oh, what the problem could be? Yeah, I bet so. I wonder what the problem is. Oh, goodness. All right, so hold on. Just back up for a second. Pepper, do you really want to see whose toes you crush with this 25-pound bear trap?
I mean, it would be kind of funny. Like, we're pretty tight packed in the bathysphere, right?
Yeah, okay, so you let go of this thing. Everybody
like
except
like
for
startled.
Okay. All of us except for Bambi, because she has her her legs curled up in the fetal position. I'm gonna get everybody to roll dodge.
Dodge. The dogs are in front of me, and I was kind of hefting it behind my shoulder. Should the dogs roll as well?
If you have it angled behind your shoulder and it falls, I don't think they'll be in any sort of danger.
Ooh, okay.
It might startle them though.
Oh,
so
yeah, probably.
I don't know if that would have any impact on their movement. Are they trained enough to stay still even if they're startled?
I mean, they're hunting dogs, so I would assume so. But they might start barking a little bit.
Okay, that's fine.
Between that and the alarm, like they're pretty spooked.
Okay, so Niklaus, what did you roll for your dodge?
18.
18. Okay, Sid, did you roll for dodge?
5.
Yeah,
it was a 5.
yeah. And then Anastasia rolled a 19. So Sid, you are standing directly behind Pepper when she lets go of this thing. And they slam down on your toes. You have this 25-pound metal bear trap. Just absolutely crushes your toes. And it hurts. I'm not gonna make you take any damage for that because it's toes.
Flavor.
They'll hurt.
It's
flavor
as well. Like
yeah, and
it's
I mean,
like stubbing your toe like really bad. It's gonna bruise.
I broke my pinky toe when I was in junior high, and I didn't know it was broken. We were in gym class, and I kicked a soccer ball, and somebody put their foot in front of the ball. So when I made contact with it, the ball didn't go anywhere. Didn't know that my toe was broken. and tried to kick the ball again, and then I certainly knew that my toe was broken. Unfortunately, there's nothing they can do for broken toes, so we'll keep it flavor, and you're just in extreme pain. But yeah, so the dogs are barking. Sid's toes are broken. And Niklaus, what are you doing?
Um, what do I need to do, or do I need to roll anything to look like I'm investigating the problem and go, it's this thing.
So
It's the
because you
flux
rolled,
capacitor.
so because you rolled a nat 20, and you knew exactly what you were doing, you were very specific with the things that you were messing with. I'm gonna say that, you know, you acted up a little bit, but there's nothing in particular that you have to do to like make it look like it's something else. Like you obviously know what the problem is, so you know what you should act like to make it seem like it's something worse than it is, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've
so
got
I'll just
how
have that carry over. Yeah, I'll have that carry
Okay.
over from your nat 20.
Awesome. And then I know exactly how I'm going to roleplay it then.
Okay, go ahead.
So Niklaus will hop up and look at it and go, you know, these things are actually, this apparatus is actually quite similar to the tool that we use to sterilize instruments and scalpels and things like that in surgical bays. Sometimes it's just a matter of a faulty seal. And he's going to pull out, like, surgical gloves from the med kit and basically, like, just MacGyver it into an O-ring. Doesn't actually do anything, but it looks like that's what he's doing to fix it, and he'll quote unquote fix the problem. Go there. I think we're okay. I think we're all right.
So Anastasia watches you do this, and she sees how adept you are at kind of taking this thing and rolling with it. And her eyes narrow, and she just, like, nostrils flare. She is livid. I rolled a 29 for intuition, so she's piecing together in her mind that you were picking at things before, and then you were talking a lot, which is something that you don't do unless it's to make snarky comments at people. So she doesn't outright, like, verbally make any accusations or anything like that, but you can see it on her face that she kind of thinks that she knows exactly what the fuck is going on here.
So you could say that she figured out that Niklaus wasn't talking to her about it to make her think that he wasn't up to something, but it was to be seen talking to her.
Yeah, so, like, I guess essentially, right? Because he doesn't talk like that to people normally, unless it's to make stupid, snarky comments. So the fact that he was talkative to her, especially with the climate of their relationship so far, she kind of goes, aha. So there was something on the go. She doesn't know how you broke it or how you quote unquote fixed it. Nothing like that. She doesn't see any specifics. But she knows deep in her gut that this was all you, baby. This is all you. So yeah, everything goes back to normal. The gauges repressurize. Oxygen levels are reading fine. Pressure is fine. You guys are not in any mortal danger.
Yeah, Pepper is actually busy comforting the dogs and trying to get them back
Bambi's
in
like,
order.
you did it!
Sid, are you too bothered by Niklaus fixing this? Are you thinking that something's up, or are you just running with it? Because you can roll intuition if you'd like, but you don't have to.
I'm a little bit distracted by this 25-pound bear trap.
Right, absolutely.
So
How quickly you forget these things. I forgot you were dealing with your bear trap. The Shia LaBeouf bear trap.
Yes.
Yep.
One last thing for Niklaus. Again, checking to see if anybody else is looking, and as soon as everybody is not, Niklaus is going to give Anastasia just a little wink and go accept praise from Bambi.
She blanches. She just, all the color drains out of her face. Boy, she's going to have some words for you, buddy. But other than that, the trip is uneventful. No more bear traps falling on feet. No more alarms blaring or anything like that. You guys successfully get back to the atrium. There is nobody waiting for you, like Anastasia had feared. The bathysphere station itself is relatively quiet. You know, the same probably couldn't be said if you actually go fiddling around in the atrium. There's, you know, probably things that could get you, but that is not your focus. Anastasia ushers you guys out of this bathysphere and into the next. Remember when we saw the docking bay, there were multiple bathyspheres. Each of these have their own route. So you jump into one that has the number 5 on it, and Anastasia is watching you, Niklaus, like a hawk. You cannot even fart and she would know the difference. Like, she's got her eyes glued to you. So obviously you don't have the ability to mess with anything while everybody is occupied, because she is certainly not. You guys jump into this bathysphere, and off you go again. The front doors close. The water is let in through vent systems just to kind of balance out that pressure. The back doors open again, and this time this bathysphere comes out. So this one is a longer ride than the Adonis Plaza bathysphere route. This one takes a longer arc around a lot of different buildings. So you're able to kind of get a good look at what buildings are in this area. You are able to pass through a couple buildings that kind of have those directional signs again, like you did within the buildings themselves. So there are labels and signs posted up around the buildings as well. So you know that as you make that arc, somewhere over to the far side, there's the medical pavilion. You keep going. There's, casinos. This is the welcome center you're passing by as well. So like restaurants, all that sort of thing. Anything that could draw the attention of newcomers to the city. Clearly, this was kind of like a pre-entertainment district. This was the stuff that got you hooked on it to begin with. And then kind of like, well, now your experience opens up. This place is your oyster. So all of that primary stuff, the flashy kind of eye-grabbing stuff, is in the forefront of the city itself. So you move past that and you come down further. And then eventually you come into a station. And on the outside of the building, in another large sweeping sign, and this one is arced, and each of the letters is lit underneath by a different light, so that the whole sign is thrown into shadow above the letters, and all the letters are highlighted. It says Port Poseidon, and a couple of the letters are the bulbs have gone out, so the whole Port Poseidon is not lit up, but you can obviously tell that is what reads. The light is enough to see that. And then the bathysphere comes into the station. This one is a little bit of a rougher ride. It's not as well oiled a travel as the main hub in the atrium, whereas like bathyspheres are constantly coming in and out of that one. This one seems to be a little bit more in disrepair.
I think
and disuse.
Pepper on the way asks a shower thought, and it's like, if everywhere in Exodus is named after Greek gods, why is it named Cain and Abel?
Bambi just goes, tut tut, don't think too hard, darling.
Yes, we wouldn't want you to
Under
hurt yourself.
under her breath a little bit, Anastasia kind of looks to, like, she's still got her eyes fixed on Niklaus. So she like turns her head towards Pepper's voice, but her eyes are still on Niklaus. And she just kind of mumbles like, well, don't forget that the gardens are called Eden as well. It's not all Greek gods.
Oh, Eden's not Greek?
No.
Mm-mm.
Oh.
Anastasia is just like, no.
Also, during the long trip, Niklaus will take a look at Sid's toes, make sure there's nothing that needs treatment or anything, and then give Sid some painkillers and maybe even like a lollipop from the med kit if you're okay with that being in there.
Yes, sure.
And it's
Sid?
kind of playing up the caring doctor role a bit.
Sid takes it, and like nobody has seen so much gratitude or grateful emotion or anything like that come from Sid so far. Like Sid's just like, oh, thank you. It feels so much better now.
Bambi just watches, kind of side-eyed, but very amused and curious.
Bambi's like, I do the exact same thing. Hey.
Yeah, and then Niklaus will spend the rest of the trip doting on Bambi.
Anastasia is just in her corner grumbling to herself. She's pissed off. But nothing else really comes from her. So at the end of this long trip, you guys finally pull into Port Poseidon's little entryway for the bathysphere. And like I said, this is a road that is a lot less traveled than everything else. So the station itself is in a bit more disrepair. It's a bumpy connection. Takes a little bit longer for the bathysphere to drain of water from around it, and for you guys to be able to open up the door and actually get out. But eventually you do. So you step out, and the first thing that is abundantly clear is just an absolute stench. This place used to be the main fishery. There's a lot of like docks and stuff here. At one point, this is where a lot of the submersibles would go from here to topside. A lot of deliveries in the early days were made from topside to here. This is where all of the extra pieces would come in. And then, of course, a lot of naturally the fishing and food production kind of taken from the ocean. So it's been, in disuse for a very long time. And cleanliness was not the top priority. So there is a very distinct smell. You guys come out of the bathysphere station and start to move into the building as a whole. And there are a lot of like nets and things that are ripped and tossed aside. Fishing gear. There are even like suits and spare parts for big daddies or guardians here. So clearly at one point this place was bumping. At one point this place was very much used. You guys aren't here for very long when you hear footsteps. And they are not frantic footsteps. These are not the footsteps of a crazed splicer. They are not heels. So Bambi, heal. You don't need to fly into a rage. It's not Vixen. You are not triggered by the sound of these footsteps. But Anastasia stops and she holds out an arm for everybody to stop. And then she raises her shotgun. She doesn't have it like held on super tightly like she did when Niklaus or Klaus was taunting her. But she does have it aimed forward and she waits. Do any of you say anything or are you just waiting?
I mean, I think Pepper would match the energy and set either, I think she sets the bear trap down, making sure that no foot is in the way. And then pulls the elephant gun off of her shoulder and also points it in that direction.
Bambi will have drawn her breath to sing.
Niklaus pulls out his pistol and pulls the hammer back and is holding it with a notable shake in his hand.
I was going to make a snarky comment, but we'll let that pass.
No, what were you going to say?
No, nothing in particular. I just, looks good on ya, Niklaus. But anyway. So yeah, it takes a moment for you guys to see any movement. But from the shadows of this little room, and from the open space beyond it, step out two men. And these two men are very tall, thin, very nice figures. But while they look very similar, as siblings tend to do, there is something very distinct in the way that two of these men hold themselves. One is more poised, hair slicked back. He holds himself very tall, shoulders back. His appearance is very neat, and especially for Exodus. Like, you've never seen even Anastasia, who was quite neat when she first came upon you guys, with her shirt tucked into her slacks and everything like that, and her hair pinned up the way she'd like it. You've never seen something quite this pristine in the city before. A very crisp white shirt, with the cuffs around the wrists are pristine as well. There's no stains or anything, except for a little tiny splash of blood on the collar. This is the only bit of mess on this man. His face is trained into a very calculated look, as if he is just totally at ease seeing this group of strangers. And you can tell that he knows, obviously, that some of you are not from here, but he looks so at ease about it, and like not a care in the world. He brings a cigarette to his lips, and inhales very deeply, and then blows out smoke, and it comes out in a ring, just very, very laid back. And then you notice that through like the bit of open shirt where his collar is pulled back, you see a lot of different floral tattoos up the side of his neck and down his shoulder. I'm looking at you, yes. Very, very floral tattoo design. You can see the vibrancy of the colors through the thin material of his shirt. They go down his arm and stop around the elbow. And then you look to his side, and there's another man, looks very similar to him, but somehow in total chaos, just the complete opposite. There's a buzzing energy in this man, very, very manic energy. Like his other half here, hair slicked back, very dark hair, but there are pieces falling out, very, very messy. It's almost like a very stylized messiness. You know, very calculated. This strand is out for a very specific reason. He has his sleeves rolled up to his elbows, and his shirt is a lot more crinkled than his companion, but still very, very white, like very pristine. And he has a jacket slung over his shoulder. And like his companion, he too has tattoos, but they're on his forearms. So rather than seeing it peek out from the top of his shirt, the sleeves are rolled up, and you see black feathers up and down his forearms. And then the thing that you notice as well is a lot more jewelry on this guy too. So the one that was smoking, no rings, no necklaces, nothing. But this companion has several gold rings on his fingers that somehow look like they absolutely belong there. This is just, you know, yeah, like they belong on his fingers. And then a tie, funnily enough, a tie, but it's undone, it's crumpled, and the two pieces are laying on his chest. And the one smoking doesn't make any movement to speak, just watches you all very carefully. And then there's silence and just Bambi, darling, funny seeing you here. And that's where we're going to end tonight.
That's amazing.
That's where we're going to end tonight.
2 appearances in 1 week. It's amazing.
You know, Vanessa would have beaten me to it if we weren't like total sticks in the mud last time.
You guys have no idea how long I've been waiting for the Blackwoods to show up. Yes.
I knew it!
That was one of the things, Yasmin, that you were correct about.
It's amazing.
I
Oh,
hope
goodness.
you don't mind my long-winded description, but I feel like it was
It was
fitting. I had to
perfect.
do them justice.
It was literally perfect.
Well, it was funny as we were piecing things together as you were giving these descriptions. So I'm like, wow, this is a lot of detail. Wait, feathers? Wait, you fucking kidding me?
So the other day, I sent a message to Yaz and I was like, oh man, you know what? I really miss Savoy and Zahil. Like, can you just tell me about them? And like what's their favorite flowers? And, you know, like if they had tattoos, what would their tattoos look like? And I made it seem like I was just missing TICFA files so much.
You nailed it.
And then everything that Yasmin told me about them, I was like, thank you.
That's
You got
great.
me. I had an idea that maybe the Blackwood brothers would be, you know, appropriate, like might be them, but I had no idea about the questions.
Yasmin, every time I tweet about the Blackwoods on the Exodus Twitter, I'm like, is Yasmin gonna get it this time? Like, at what point is she gonna just say, fuck off, this is Zahil and Savoy? And I would also like to, because obviously this is Bambi, like Bambi would know this because she hangs out with the Blackwoods,
Yeah.
but their names are Xavier and Samson. So I even tried to keep the same syllable at the front.
That's amazing.
Yes. Oh my god.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
it.
So now we have Xavier and Samson into play. I hope you guys enjoyed the description of them.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right, well let's talk about our favorite parts and everything, and we'll head out on our raid. So let's start with you, Vanessa. What was your favorite part? Where can we find you? And anything you'd like to share?
Well, obviously, I very much enjoyed finally bringing the Blackwoods into it. I knew that once I got to their description that you guys would clue in. And all this time, I've basically been gaslighting Yasmin into thinking that she was crazy and that I wasn't going to bring them into it. So I apologize, Yasmin, for giving you the slip on that one.
It was worth it.
I didn't want to ruin the surprise, but I kind of wanted to tantalize you of it.
I loved it.
But I also really, really enjoyed the combat with the splicers in the tunnel. I wasn't expecting you guys to stick around that long. I thought I was going to say, hey, the trams and the trains are down. Let's go now. And you guys were just going to follow me. But that was my fault. I should know that you guys never follow me. So yeah, the combat in that section was super fun and a lot more fluid than I feared, because every time we go into this I'm like, oh no, what do I do? But it came out really nicely, and I hope you guys are having fun, because I had a blast tonight. So everything was my favorite, everything.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can't pick, but everything. But as for where you can find me next, I will be here on Saturday playing Annie for Animus Absentus. We are finally on the way to save her brother, so I'm super pumped about that after waiting for an entire season. But yeah, you can find me online as well. My art Twitter is at Peppero Draws. That's Peppero like the candy. And you can also find me on my coffee page if you'd like to check out my library there, which is coffee.com/Peppero Princess. So again, Peppero like the candy. But yeah, that's it for me.
Awesome. Riley, what was your favorite part? Where can we find you, and anything else you'd like to share?
My favorite part, aside from, getting to have like Savoy and Zahil appear at the end as the Blackwoods, right? The Blackwood brothers.
Yes.
Like that was just so much excitement. But my favorite part was, I have a couple. Definitely Klaus coming out to play. I loved that. Raven, that was phenomenal.
Thanks.
And also I am starting to get a better feel for Sid, and there's just some really exciting things that I'm realizing, and interactions that I hope Sid gets to have. So
I can't wait to hear about them.
Same.
So you can find me everywhere online at Arielle Knits, and yeah.
Awesome. Rowan, what was your favorite part? Where can we find you? Anything else you'd like to share?
Man, I have to say it is Niklaus no longer putting up a front when around Anastasia. So like that dark look he gave her, that predatory look once Anastasia was giving him this horrified expression after he literally murdered someone in front of her, and then making no like not hiding the fact that he was one who fucked up the bathysphere, and just that smile and knowing wink at Anastasia. Like, dude, there's like some 3D chess going on here.
Truly.
Just the whole like, oh, this is definitely a war, my dear, and I just can't wait for this shit to go down. So I have to say Niklaus was my favorite.
Thanks. I'm very much going for like a Dr. Smith in Lost in Space kind of relationship with Anastasia. And I'm excited to see how it plays out too. Where can we find you?
Never. No, I'm kidding. I'll be back here next week. I believe that we are doing a game, although Yaz won't be here, right? But yeah, so I'll be here next week. Aside from that, you can find my stuff at rownorthillustrations.org. I am, once again, going to be doing pre-orders on my homemade watercolors, which is something that I've been experimenting with for the whole year, pretty much, at this point, right, Raven? And I finally got a recipe down. Yeah. March, maybe. I think just about as the time that we were getting stuck in quarantine.
Yeah.
um,
It was around when the lockdown started, yeah.
Whee! Anyways, but yes, I've got a recipe down and I've been mixing my own pigments, and I'm going to be releasing my first watercolor set, homemade watercolors, and they're going to be in special tins with like special Halloween art on the top. I'm really really excited. So please check out my website, and I will be posting when the pre-orders are live. So yes.
Awesome. Next, Yasmin. What was your favorite part? Where can we find you online? And anything else you want to share?
Sorry, Yasmin, just before you start there, can
Okay,
I just
Kanye.
interject?
Listen, I'm gonna let you have your moment, but just give me a fucking second, okay?
No, all I wanted to interject was if you are curious about the Exodus Twitter, I forgot to mention it last time.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, you guys can actually follow the Exodus account, which is at Sunken Exodus on Twitter, where I usually post updates about like the pasts of the characters, anything that could potentially factor into games. So far, everything that I've tweeted on the account has to do with like the pre-Civil War, early Civil War era. So you get kind of more insight to like the NPCs. You get some interaction between like the Blackwoods and other NPCs in the game and things like that that we haven't seen yet. So you can actually familiarize yourself with other NPCs that you haven't seen yet in game. But yeah, it's been super fun, and I like to bully Yasmin on it by posting things that she thinks are one thing, and absolutely she is correct, and then I tell her it's not. So if you would like to see that, it's at Sunken Exodus on Twitter. And yes, Yasmin, the floor is yours.
Cool. Well, the Blackwood brothers are definitely my favorite part about tonight. I mean, I was obsessed with this game beforehand, and now I'm over my head with the obsession. And now that that's out of the way, I can devote time to the rest of my conspiracy theories.
I'm so glad that you love it like you do. It honestly keeps me going.
Yes. Because I would be really sad if there was nothing to create conspiracy theories over such a beautiful storyline. Anyways, that's my favorite part. I'm going to be MIA for the next week or so. And I don't know when you'll see me next, but it'll be eventually and before the end of October. I have to come up time. But you can also find me on my Twitter, White Tatiana Art, or at my website, which I'm posting in chat, studiotart.com. I just uploaded 2 new prints and a art journal, blank page, no lines, art journal. Anyways, check it out if you want.
Awesome. My favorite part, it's really hard to pick a favorite part because the whole thing was really fun. I definitely enjoyed getting to let Klaus loose because his voice and laugh is so much fun to do.
It's really scary.
Sorry.
Let's keep that one tucked away for only when it's absolutely necessary.
Where's the fun in that?
Down. Bye.
See you, Yas.
See you, Yas.
Bye.
So yeah, my favorite part was probably a bit of that, and I really enjoyed the sort of cat and mouse game between Klaus and Anastasia. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The Klaus is a manipulative little bastard.
Absolutely.
He's fun to play. And then yeah, I just loved all the descriptions, and like it was really felt like we were there. Like I got a very good mental image of everything because you described it so well. So I really enjoyed that too. You can find me next. I'll be producing School Days on Friday at 6 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, and then GMing Animus Absentis on Saturday at 6 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern. And that, I believe, is it for this week in terms of where I will be online streaming. And then you can also catch me, of course, on Twitter, which is right below my face, at the Raven. Patreon has a lot of really cool stuff going on. I'm doing a lot more art now that my streaming schedule isn't quite so hectic. So that's getting a lot more regular updates now. And there's a lot of different tiers that you can sign up for to help support what I do. And a lot of really cool perks for all the different ones. And then, oh yeah, merch. I'm making different merch for different shows. And let me grab the link really quick. Including a couple things for Hunters of Calamity 2 that are already up there. So you can check that out as well. I've also got some art prints, and if there's any of my art or anything like that that you want to see, you can always just let me know, and I will set it up so that you can get prints of it or whatever you'd like it on. You can just DM me on Discord or on Twitter. And yeah, I think that is about it. So let's go pick somebody to raid here. I'm just gonna recopy our raid cry, which is "Who said murdering's not an art?" And then let's go raid. Let's see who is on. Let's go say hi to Perception Studio. They're pretty cool. So we're gonna go raid them. We've got our raid cry, and I will see you all on Friday. Bye, everybody.